Let me ask you a question. If you were composing a jazz tune and your first chord was A flat major 7th, would you put D as your second chord and expect it to sound melodic? We're going to look at that in this video. I'm Ron Drotos, KeyboardImprov.com. Thanks for being here. I went online teaching in 2012, and it's been an amazing journey so far, and this is part of it. It's Journey Through the Real Book videos. I'm going through the whole book, and I'm on number 114, Falling Grace by Steve Swallow. And yes, Steve Swallow went from A flat major 7 to D, actually D7. Tritone away, about as far as you can get harmonically, yet it makes perfect sense. Part of it is because he then follows it with a 2-5, or a 5-1 rather, D7 to G, but he goes very melodically and stepwise in the right hand. So even though the chord, there's a little bit of a shift there, the melody is so stepwise it balances out, and it just sort of flavors, the harmony flavors this stepwise motion in the melody in a very interesting and intriguing way. Makes us kind of think a little bit. What's going on there? That's interesting. And then he does the most traditional thing in the world, a 5-1. So he's not just bouncing here, 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 here. He's bouncing from here to here and then going very logically right there. You could also look at the bass line as circling, because he starts with the A flat, and then the D7th has an F sharp in the bass, and then it goes to G, and that's a very bebop way of circling around a note. You know that Miles Davis thing. So he's circling around this note. That's what makes it sound logical. This tune, very early, mid to late 60s, had a big influence, this tune and others of his, on Chick Corea, very young Chick Corea. Steve Swallow was on the Boston scene at that time, and so that's where Chick Corea grew up. And between Gary Burton, Chick Corea, and I think Steve Swallow as a composer early on, they influenced so much music we heard in the 70s, from jazz fusion with Chick's Return to Forever, of course the great records by Gary Burton and Chick Corea, the duo vibraphone piano recordings that contained a lot of Steve Swallow tunes on them, and also the Pat Metheny group and that whole ECM scene, and Keith Jarrett, who was in Boston too, spent a year or so at Berklee College of Music. So Boston was a hotbed of creativity right at the beginning of the jazz rock scene in the mid to late 60s, early 70s. Isn't talked about so much, but Boston must have been an incredible place to be at that time. While the same time in San Francisco, the hippie scene, the classic rock, Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, The Doors, and then in Europe with the Beatles and just the explosion of creativity. And then in straight ahead jazz, Miles Davis, still playing swing at that time, 66, 67, getting into jazz rock themselves. Amazing transition if you look at music in any of those genres from 1964 to 1969 to hear the difference. Incredible. So it's a great tune. It's got a swing feel. It's one of the most traditional Steve Swallow tunes because of all the 2-5s in it, or 5-1s or 2. Same time, you get some unusual chord progressions, like the one I just talked about, or on the third line, going from F, up a half step, and then that turns into 2-5-1, or at the double bar halfway through, again going up by half steps in the bass, and then a 2-5 and a series of 2-5s with some chromatic tritone substitutions. So it's a real combination of the very traditional and some of the new stuff, probably influenced in its turn by Wayne Shorter. Wayne Shorter to Steve Swallow to Chick Corea to Pat Metheny to everybody else. That's one line that you could look at right there. All right, so here we go. I'm going to give it a try. It's a fun tune to play, and when you're improvising, you really just have to go chord by chord or harmonic region by harmonic region. This A flat chord is not necessarily leading in a direct way to the G major 7, but 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 measures later. You know, like in Autumn Leaves, you might see the beginning is going to make a logical move all the way to 8 measures later or 16 measures later. Not going to find that in the same way here, so it's about finding the momentum and the energy as it's shifting between these different 2/5s as they lead you to different harmonic regions. In a little different way than, like I said, like a Rodgers and Hart tune would. Here we go. tunes like that because they're different every time. I mean, really, every tune kind of is. But, you know, you play that first A flat major 7, and at least what I try to do is listen to it and see the implications. You know, one day, maybe it's going to go. The next day, more rhythmic. You know, maybe even like traditional 2/5s, you know? You know, you can bring in some traditional soloing on this. Whichever path you take, check out the tune. If it sounds so foreign to you, you never played anything like this, give it a shot, because then in a year or two, you're going to come back to it, and it's going to feel more natural. I remember looking at this stuff when I was in college and saying, what is that? I have no idea what that is. And now I can sit down and really enjoy it on a way that makes a little more sense to me. So I want you to get there too, and let me know how I can help you in any way. I have a great video course at Keyboard Improv. I'm putting everything I know into this course. It's got about 400 videos so far in all different styles. So I want to help you the best I can through this video, but also through everything else I do. Good luck with your music, and let's see what's next time. Falling in Love with Love. And some great versions out there. I think Keith Jarrett did an up-tempo version of this as well. Okay, I'll see you then, and let the music flow.